I'm Peter with Ericom, the cybersecurity unit at Cradlepoint, and welcome to the Enlighten series. Over half of the devices that are requesting sensitive corporate access these days are unmanaged devices, and less than half of organizations are monitoring those. So how do you manage the unmanaged devices? So what are unmanaged devices? Where literally they are devices, computers, mobile devices, what have you, that are not managed by the organization. So they could be third-party suppliers, they could be contractors, heck, they could be remote workers working on personal machines. Let's build this guy a house because he's working remotely. There we go. Now these individuals, these unmanaged devices, you can't put any clients on them because first thought, you might think, okay, we have, a data center and we have our firewall to our DMZ. And then in our data center, we got a bunch of servers. This pen isn't really working that well. So we'll give them a VPN, to access the data in the data center, but you can't put a client on the device, not to mention the fact that, VPN network access, really has to be tightened or else they'll be able to, jump from server to server, navigate internally. You don't want that. They might also need access to SaaS applications out here. So SharePoint, and ServiceNow, and Salesforce, and any other SaaS application out there. Certainly still seems feasible, but again, this is all access via the browser. So they might be able to do some things you don't want them to do in the SaaS environment. So how do we solve this? How to manage the unmanaged? Well, how about if we toss out this idea of isolation? So, what we can do in this instance, so your contractors, your remote users, your third-party suppliers, you can send them a URL to authenticate to. They'll probably do a SAML assertion to an identity provider. That identity provider, that's not how you write it. Your IDP. So they go out to the IDP. The IDP says, oh, you want access to this stuff over here, but you're an unmanaged device. Because they're an unmanaged device, we are going to isolate them. And so let's build out our ZT Edge, and this is called Web Application Isolation. So instead of sending whatever resources back directly to the device, the user, the individual, what you want to do is you just send them through the ZT Edge Web Application Isolation. And so what we're doing is we are isolating the data, the application really, in a isolated cloud container, and literally then streaming these pixels to the device. So they're gaining access to the information that they need, but in an isolated environment. So what does this mean? One, they don't have direct access to the application itself, so they really can't do any harm. if they want to, potentially attack, for instance, the application, they're just attacking these streaming pixels in the container. We can make this web application read-only. So that's all they can do. They read. They can't input any information. We can limit both uploads and downloads. So if you do allow them to upload, we'll check that file before it gets uploaded just to make sure there's no viruses, malware, ransomware, things like that. So we can limit that. We can limit, not limit, but have some data loss prevention in place. You can block downloads. You can sanitize downloads. As I said, you can read only. We can do some other things too, like restricting, CTL, Control C and CTLV, copy and paste. We can disable print screen. And so we can really lock down what they're allowed to see, what they're allowed to interact with this web application isolation. And so really protects the application from any attacks. Over here, you're allowing the unmanaged devices access to the information that they need, but you're allowing it in a very controlled, isolated environment that greatly reduces the risk. This is pretty cool stuff, how to manage unmanaged devices. If you'd like to learn more about this solution, please visit ericom.com for more info. I am Peter, always sign your work. If you like these types of videos, please subscribe, share, and like, and I'll see you next time on the Ericom Enlighten series. Thanks for watching. There it is.
ZT Edge, the simple, affordable way to move to zero trust security.